Welcome to Champagne Problems Podcast. I am your host, Robbie Shaw. Join us as we explore mental and emotional well-being, physical optimization, and the journey to discovering your highest self. Champagne Problems is brought to you in proud partnership with Bond Buzz, the alcohol-free social spirit. Coach Cy Alexander, welcome to Champagne Problems Podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I thank you. It's an honor to sit down with you. I typically start by letting the listeners or the audience know how this interview came about. You know, do we know each other? Have we known each other? And we haven't. We met about an hour and a half ago. We have spoken a number of times, and you know, having a history in basketball myself, not only as a player but as a lifelong fan. I absolutely have known and know who you are and what you've done in your past, and I'm now up to date on what you're doing with or currently and with the future. So I'm excited to dig into all things Coach Cy.
Sounds good.
Let's do it. So I start typically my interviews. Some of these are a little playful, but I like to do a quick rapid fire, and it's just to kind of get to know you real quick. Mm-hmm. Give me your most memorable or your first live music experience.
Perfect. The Hollywood Bowl.
Wow.
In Los Angeles. Yeah. Summer of 1975. I had just graduated from college, and two of my high school buddies, we decided to take a Volkswagen across country from Winston-Salem, North Carolina to L.A. And one of the guys who was a friend of ours, he had just gotten a divorce. He played for the San Francisco 49ers. He had a house in L.A. He said, y'all come on out and hang out. And we went to see Earth, Wind, and Fire.
At the bowl,
at Hollywood Bowl, with Santana.
Wow,
best concert,
Carlos.
Yeah, best concert I've ever been to.
That's so cool. That's a great story. I went to the Hollywood Bowl last year for the first time in my life. It was a bucket list.
Yeah, I never been since that. Since that time, maybe I need to get back out there.
That's a good spot. That is a historic spot. Very cool. Earth, Wind, and Fire too, man. Mm-hmm. I met Carlos Santana one time in New York City. Good man. Yep. Good man. Yeah. Any books you're currently reading?
Yes. Atomic Habits.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah, Atomic Habits. I'm gonna be a guest speaker at the CXO conference, CXO 2.0 conference in Las Vegas. March the 4th through the 6th. And I'm on a panel discussion about how you develop elite mental fitness to develop unstoppable leaders.
Wow.
And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Love it. So the author, John
Clear. John Clear or James Clear?
I think it's James Clear.
Could be Clear. But I know the last name is Clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that book.
I just got it for Christmas.
It's I've read some of it. I haven't read it all. I've been told so many times that I need to read it.
That's what I'm trying to prepare myself for this conference and talk about developing leadership skills. And somebody suggested this would be the perfect book for you to lead into that particular.
Perfect. God, that sounds great.
Yeah. It's at the Luxor Hotel in Vegas. And it's like all your international business leaders are going to be there. And I was offered the opportunity to come. Normally, you have to pay to be a speaker at this deal, but they wanted me to come and be a part, and so the only thing I have to pay for is my room.
Congrats!
Yeah,
that's an honor. Okay. Wow. All right. So, most celebrated person you have ever met. Celebrated or famous, you know?
I like to say that Reverend Jesse Jackson is a friend of mine.
Wow.
He's been a big supporter of mine since I got the job at North Carolina A&T, because he's an A&T graduate, and he's followed my career. I was just with Reverend Jackson for the Rainbow Push conference in Chicago. Tell you a quick funny story. We had just beaten in 2013 when I was at A&T. We had just beaten Liberty University in the first 4 game. So I'm laying in the bed the next morning, and we have a 10 o'clock breakfast, and we get on the bus at 11:30 to drive from Dayton to Lexington, because now our second round opponent, whatever you want to call it, was Louisville. Okay, so it's like 7:30 in the morning. I get a call, and I don't normally answer my phone if I don't know who's calling, but because this
you and me both,
because this was the NCAA tournament and we had just won, I assumed it was a reporter or something. So I answered it. wasn't familiar with the numbers, a 312 number. And I said, hello? He said, Coach Si. And I said, yes. He said, it's Jesse. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesse? Who the heck is Jesse? And I said, yeah, Jesse. He said, yeah, Jesse Jackson. I was like, oh, Reverend Jackson. He said, what time you guys are going to get to Lexington? I said, well, Rev, we're going to leave here around 11, and it's about a 2-hour bus ride over from Dayton to Lexington. So I'd say somewhere between 1 and 1:30. Because we don't have practice until later on that evening. Got a bunch of media stuff we got to do. And he said, I'll be there. I'll be there waiting when you get. Sure enough, he had called a flight, he and his personal assistant, and he spent the entire trip with us.
Wow.
Just hanging out with the players, and he and I had a lot of one-on-one time just to talk about life. And so I got in 2014, that summer, I received the National Trailblazer Award from the Rainbow Coalition Conference. And never forget it, Robbie, when I walked into the conference, the lady said, Coach Reverend Jackson is waiting for you. He's up at the front table. He's got a seat right beside him. And when I walked in, he gave me a big hug and whispered in my ear, please pray for me. And I did not know at the time what he was actually even talking about. But he apparently had been told anew about the onset of the disease that he now has, Parkinson's syndrome. Mm-hmm. And it was just the beginning of that. This was the summer of 2014. And it's full blown. I don't know if you've seen him lately.
I have not.
His mind is fine.
Yeah.
But he's hardly, you can hardly understand him. Oh, man. And
brutal.
And he's going to be featured in the documentary, Our Relationship. And he is, and that's why hopefully we can get a chance to chat a little bit about Mr. Williams or whatever. But that's I'd say I've met a lot of NBA players and pro players through just being in sports. Mm-hmm. But I'd have to say Reverend Jackson is, at the top of that list.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What a man.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when he called you 2014 or 13?
Yeah.
2014?
This was 2013. We had just beaten Liberty in the first 4 games.
And was that did you all have a relationship prior to that, or was this a?
We had met when I got he's an A&T alum.
Yeah.
So he would come to Greensboro, and we would somebody, obviously he's in the sports, so it was the homecoming game, and we were in the Chancellor's suite, and Chancellor wanted me to meet him, so he walked me over to Reverend Jackson, and we met and talked. But it got closer and closer as we started winning, and we just developed a relationship. So we were cool when he made that phone call, but after that we became very, very close. And like I said, I won the national Trailblazer Award in the following summer. And that's when he told me, he whispered in my ear, because the lady said, Rev is waiting on you. And I spent a lot of time with him this past summer in August or September, whenever the convention was. Got a chance to meet his son, Yusuf, who's now running the coalition. Met the mayor of Chicago and just a number of people that, in fact, he's very involved in making sure this documentary gets, because he's going to be featured in it because of our relationship.
Wow.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. All right, last question of this kind of series. If you could know the answer to any question, what would you ask?
That's a good one. If I could know the answer to any question. Well, being a Washington Commanders football fan, my question would be, which team, which team was the last team in the NFL to integrate, to bring on African American players?
Okay.
It was the Washington Redskins.
Oh. Huh.
A lot of people don't know that.
The last team.
Yeah, they were the last team to integrate.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people wonder why I even pull for them because of that.
Right.
Well, when I was a youngster, they came to play, and I didn't know about integration or desegregation or whatever. My dad took me in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, took me to an exhibition game between the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Redskins. And I was like 5, 6 years old. And in that time, as you well know, before the Atlanta Falcons, pretty much on Sundays on CBS, North Carolina got the Redskins games on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I just saw them probably more than any other team. But they were the last team to bring on African American players. I bet you a lot of people don't know that.
No. The Redskins and the Orioles. Used to watch the Orioles growing up because that was the same thing.
Yeah, I watched the Braves.
The Braves too, right? It was either Atlanta or DC.
I tell you the other person that I was just blown away. I had the opportunity to sit one-on-one in his office at his car dealership. Because I was a Braves fan, I loved Hank Aaron.
Oh, wow.
And he had a dealership, a BMW dealership in Atlanta. Still has it, although he's passed. I got a chance to spend about 30 minutes with Hank Aaron, just sitting in his office. Where was I? I was the head coach, I think, at Tennessee State at the time. So it had to be somewhere between 2003 and 2009. But Tennessee State was playing in Atlanta, football game. And one of the PR people knew Mr. Aaron and said, I know you'd like to take you by and let you meet him. And he was very gracious, and we just sat and talked. But just sitting across from him was a major honor.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, let's go back. I'm not going to say way back, but let's go back.
Way back.
So, Winston-Salem.
Yes, sir.
You were born in Winston-Salem, born and raised.
Yes, sir.
Give me a little bit of childhood, something that might allude to what led you down the athletic path later.
Well, I grew up in a household with two educators. Mm-hmm. Both my mom and my dad were school teachers. My mother was an elementary school teacher, taught first grade, and she was the I won't say backbone, but she was the one that was. My mother was very religious. I never saw my mother take a drink, smoke a cigarette, or any. Went to church every Sunday and was a godly woman. And she never saw me coach a game because she was too nervous. She never even came to see me play. But she always was pulling for me.
Of course.
But she couldn't find it in her being to come because she got too nervous.
That's funny. Mama.
But my father, on the other hand, he was the person that I got my competitive nature from. My dad played football at Winston-Salem State University and was very in tune to sports. I grew up being a season ticket. He was a season ticket holder for Winston-Salem sports, Winston-Salem State University sports. Mm-hmm. So he took me to as many type of athletic events as he can. In fact, he was a poker playing buddy with legendary Big House Gaines. So I got to know Coach Gaines on a very intimate basis because of my dad. And but my dad was the disciplinarian. Uh-huh. And I use this line all the time because he used it with me. He used to say, I may smoke, I may joke, I may drink a Coke, but I don't play. And he meant, when I say do something, get it done. Mm-hmm. And he was get your schoolwork first, then go play. And he was very, very disciplined, and being early was things that he taught. I got all of my discipline and my competitive nature from him. Now, he, on the other hand, never missed a game, and he could tell me what I did wrong, what I did. I played football, basketball, baseball, you name it. Each season I was playing something, but I was not allowed to play unless you got your schoolwork first. So understanding the importance of academics was stressed very much when you're talking about growing up with two school teachers. Mm-hmm. And when I went to the same junior high school that my dad taught at. And if I got a bad grade, which is a C or below, I would have to take my report card. The teacher would say, take this around to your daddy. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So that's kind of, growing up with a father who was into sports, but also into being disciplined. Mm-hmm. And he was very much, there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. Mm-hmm. And he used to always talk to me about, you only have one chance to make the right impression. And you're going to grow up. I was a yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am kind of young man. That's how I was reared. Went to church pretty much every Sunday, watched sports, but that's the kind of how, and I was the only child. Mm. So, it was, and I lost my dad when I was a sophomore in college. My dad was never sick. 1973, he got a brain tumor. And I was at Catawba College, played for Sam Moyer. And he got sick January 1st and died February 1st. And probably in today's times, he probably could have lived because of the technology we have now. Mm-hmm. But his tumor was right behind his ear somewhere, and it was almost impossible to operate on. They said if they made any mistake, he wouldn't have been able to talk, or been kind of like a vegetable, so to speak. And he lasted 30 days. But I was 18 years old at the time. I was a sophomore, and we actually won. I went to the NAIA tournament that year, won the Carolinas Conference tournament. And I was named the most improved player on that team because I missed about 2 weeks because I was home with my mom. Mm-hmm. But when I went back, we went on a run and ended up. Tell you who was. We ended up beating Guilford College. Guilford was loaded. Had a young man by the name of World Be Free. I don't know if you remember World.
I do.
Yeah, he was on that team, and ML Carr.
Okay.
All those guys was on that Guilford team.
Wow.
So it was good competition, but we ended up winning it that year, my sophomore year, and but that's kind of how I was raised. Was always around sports, always around Winston-Salem State. Got a chance to. I was the ball boy for Winston-Salem State. Probably, maybe when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, a young man by the name of, they talk about Earl Monroe being the best player that ever come out of Winston-Salem State. There was a guy named Cleo Hill. I don't know if you remember Cleo Hill or not. Cleo Hill played against Al Addles, who was at A&T. Okay. And Mr. Addles, who I got a chance to get to know because he was an A&T guy, he went on to become he was a player for the Philadelphia Warriors, and then the San Francisco Warriors was the point guard when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points.
Wow!
But
thanks to him,
yeah. but Cleo Hill was one of the top players to ever come out of Winston-Salem State. His son now is the head coach at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Just got the job this past spring. Excellent basketball coach, by the way. But Cleo got drafted, and I don't know whether it's 65, somewhere in 64, whatever. But he got drafted by the St. Louis Hawks. And Bob Pettit and Cliff Hagan were the stars on that team for the St. Louis Hawks. And Cleo came in and kind of took over, and he got blackballed by Cliff Hagan and Bob Pettit, and ended up getting cut because he was coming in as an African American into the environment at St. Louis, and they wasn't going for that. Mm-hmm. But I got a chance to watch him play and spent a lot of time, on the campus at Winston-Salem State. One of my the president of the university lived across the street from me, and his son Norman Williams. We were like, Norman was a couple of years older than I was, but when they moved and he became the president, I would spend a lot of time on campus, hanging out with Norman or what have you.
Wow. So, all right. So then then you go to Howard.
Yes.
I mean, is that your first job?
Yes.
Assistant, A.B. Williamson.
Right. Who just recently passed.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, super successful head coach.
Yeah, right. A.B. was an awesome guy. I wrote a letter. I didn't even know A.B. I wrote a letter to Coach Williamson about who I was and my intention to want to get into coaching as a way of helping to offset the cost of going to law school, and I sent him the letter. I'll never forget. I was at home, and I got a call on a Friday afternoon. And back then they didn't have caller ID and none of that kind of stuff. You just answered the phone. Yeah. And I answered the phone, and it was Coach Williamson. And he said, "You had a very impressive letter. I'd like for you to come up and visit with me." So I came up and I visited with him because I was going to be going to Howard to law school, and I didn't know if I ever really wanted to be a lawyer. My mother wanted me to be one, and So long story short, I went up to visit with Mr. Williamson, and he offered me an opportunity to be a grad assistant. Okay. Well, Robbie, I jumped on it for sure right away. And about 3 weeks into the first semester of the me being at Howard, this was maybe 1976, fall of 76. And Coach Williamson calls me into the office. I'd been in class maybe 2 weeks, maybe. He said, "Coach, would you consider becoming my assistant on a full-time basis?" Because he had a guy by the name of Oscar Pendleton, who was the assistant. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what happened. Well, I tell this story. I see the reason why that Oscar Pendleton just resigned from being a full-time assistant. The job paid $7,500 for the year. So I had a new wife, and who was teaching school in PG County, and I'm on a $7,500, not a week, a year.
Gosh, this is supposed to help pay for law school.
So long story short, the athletics director was a guy by the name of Leo Miles. Leo was one of the first black NFL officials, so my first year was AB's second year, and the year before, that exact same team went 9-19. Okay. Well, his second year, which was my first year, that exact same team went 19-9. Now, how much I had to do with
you had everything to do with it.
That's what the athletic director thought. Robbie, he gave me, I thought I was in the big time then. I went from $7,500. He gave me a $10,000 raise. And now I'm making $17,500, and I went out and I bought a brand new BMW. And when I came home, my wife thought I had gone crazy.
We're rich.
Yes. So, and the thing about the Howard experience was you got a chance to see a lot of, I guess, famous people on campus all the time. I got a chance to see Don King, Muhammad Ali, all those folks would kind of be on campus. And a lot of NBA players would come and hang out, and practice with our guys that played with the
dream.
Guys that played with the Bullets at the time, Washington Bullets at the time. And one of my good friends,
Manute.
Was Manute? Nah, I never met him, but Carlos Terry. And I can't played at Hampton. I can't think of the big center. Played at Hampton. But he played for the Bullets. Rick Mahorn. Yeah.
God, mean dude.
Those guys became good friends of mine during their years, and Carlos ended up being killed in a car crash. But
Mahorn was a Piston, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the...
Yeah, he was one of the bad
boys.
But
that's
he originally played for the Bullets.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was his first 3 or 4 years he was with the Bullets. That's how we became good friends. But we went from, I guess, 1979-80. The same two teams played for the MEAC championship for 7 years in a row. Or maybe it was 8 years in a row, because we won the very first year in 19. I was a part of the first MEAC team to play in the NCAA tournament in 1981. We had 4 out of our 5 starters were drafted in the NBA, which is you don't see that anymore at historically black colleges and universities, because at the time there were 7 rounds to the NBA draft, and now only I think 2 or 3 or whatever it is. But 4 out of our 5 starters got drafted. And in fact, the best player that I've ever recruited and probably ever coached, you may be familiar with his name, Larry Spriggs. Spriggs was a member of the Los Angeles Lakers Showtime team, won 3 rings with Kareem and Magic Johnson and those boys. Worthy, that whole crew. But we won that first year, and then we lost to A&T, if you can believe this, 6 years in a row. The exact same 2 teams made the finals.
Oh, no.
That rivalry was comparable to Duke UNC.
Yeah.
And we made Don Corbett, the legendary coach from A&T, we made him famous because he beat us 7 years. And can you imagine that?
No.
We lost to the same team 7 years in a row.
Brutal.
And it was brutal. And finally, I was 33 years old, and I got the opportunity to have 2 job offers at the same time. 1986, 87. I was offered the head coaching job at South Carolina State University, and I was offered, and Leonard Hamilton had just been named the head coach at Oklahoma State University.
Okay.
And Leonard offered me the opportunity to come to Stillwater to be his top assistant. I got to know Leonard as a young assistant, and I was just enamored with him. I thought Leonard, in my opinion, is one of the greatest recruiters to ever be involved in college basketball. And he taught me so much about recruiting as it relates to attention to detail. And he's a grinder, and he's grinding. He works constantly, and he's still at 76 years old. He's still, the same intense. But so I've got to catch a flight to Seattle to go see a kid play. I'm at Howard now, and
86, 87, you said?
Yeah. And I'm at Howard, and I've been offered the head coaching job at South Carolina State. Leonard has offered me the job to come with him to go to Oklahoma State, and I'm flying across the country, and I'm saying to myself, man, what am I going to do? And so I land from Washington to Seattle. I call my wife and she said, you need to pray about it, and what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm really tired of being an assistant. I've been an assistant for 11 years. I'm leaning towards the South Carolina State job, but the opportunity to work with Leonard Hamilton would be like the greatest thing in the world for me. And so I said, but I decided I need to go ahead and at a young age, not very many people get a chance to be an assistant, be a head coach at 33. Excuse me. So I called Leonard, and I'm in the hotel before I get ready to go watch this kid play. I said, man, I got to talk to you about something. He said, yeah, I know, you're going to take the South Carolina State job. And I'm like, I'm blown away because he already knew.
Yeah.
And I said, he said, how'd you? And he said, man, things travel in this sporting world, this coaching world. I said, what you think? He said, well, I'll say this to you. If you come and work for me for a year, and they was to offer you the job the following that year that you worked for me, would you take it? And I said, yeah, probably. He said, well, why wait a year? Go on and take the job. And I'm telling you, Robbie, he made it so simple for me, because I thought he was going to, be upset. He wasn't. He was a class act.
He's a supporter.
Yeah, there you go. He was a supporter. And so I ended up taking the job, and I guess about 4 years later, he got offered the opportunity to leave Oklahoma State and go take the Miami job. Mm-hmm. I'm on the golf course, and it's a Sunday afternoon. My wife calls me. We got cell phones on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she said, Leonard's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. And he wanted me to come to Miami with him. And I went down and spent a week with Leonard. His wife, Claudette, and my wife, my deceased wife, Cecilia, they were very close through the Nike trips and all this kind of stuff. And I was very close to saying, I'm going to go. Because what Leonard said to me, he said, man, let me tell you something. If I can recruit players to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and you can recruit players to Orangeburg, South Carolina, ain't no telling what we can do if we both in Miami.
Yeah.
and I was leaning, and Leonard's like, he drives, and I was ready to say I'll go back and be his assistant. John Thompson, the late John Thompson, called me. And Miami was in the Big East at the time, along with where Georgetown was. And Coach Thompson, who was one of my mentors also, I had already interviewed. I was a finalist for the Ohio State job a couple years earlier. And Big John said to me, boy, why are you going to go back and be an assistant? Everybody knows who you are now. You might as well ride this. You might as well stay where you are, and I think you can get where you're trying to go. And long story short, I called Leonard and told him I was going to stay at South Carolina State. And people tell me to this day, he said that Big John had your interest at heart to some degree, but to the other degree was he didn't want you and Leonard. He didn't want you and Leonard in the same league with him. And as I think about it, that's how shrewd Big John.
Oh no, that's funny.
So, but
maybe a little bit of truth to that. Oh no, that's funny.
But I ended up going to South Carolina State, and
how many years?
16.
How many years in? 16 at South Carolina State.
And the thing, Robbie, that I'm most proud of from an athletic standpoint, from an academic standpoint, I'm proud of the fact that of all the young men that stayed for 4 years, we had close to an 80% graduation rate. The second thing, from an athletic standpoint, 13 out of the 16 years that I was there, our teams either finished first or second in the league. And at that level, you don't get much better than that. We were 7 first time. We were 7. We finished first 7 times, and we finished second 6 times. So 13 out of the 16 years I was there, we either finished first or second. And we went to 5 NCAA tournaments, and we beat several high majors while I was at South Carolina State. And I was a finalist for several upper mid-major to high major jobs. And it got really, really frustrating because I always finished second. And in that day and time, an African American, they didn't get jobs as easily as they're getting them now,
Sure. Yeah.
And that was, I'm happy for guys that are able to get these jobs now. But and the other thing was, we came from a 1-bid league, the MEAC, and they didn't have the opportunity to play in these other postseason, the CIT and these kind of off-brand kind of postseason tournaments. It was either you win your conference tournament, you can have a great year, win 18, 19 games, lose your conference tournament, and that's the end of your season.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the automatic NIT bid that me I got for about 5 years. So I feel like we did about as much as we could do. And at South Carolina State, and the thing now is the last time they went to an NCAA tournament was 2003, which was my last year.
Really?
They've been through 6 coaches since I left.
Wow.
And the program has gone from where we were in 2003 to just kind of, being it's not as respected, obviously, as it once was. And
yeah.
I'm not being degrading anybody or anything like that, but the facts are what they
sure.
are.
What would you attribute? I don't want to say attribute your success to, because that's a little bit general. Your father, I know, was a major influence in your life, created that competitive drive in you, taught you athletics, got you interested in athletics, but then you worked under A.B. Williamson. Both serve as mentors. John Thompson, a mentor. Leonard Hamilton, a mentor. I mean, I imagine it's a culmination of all these things, but give me something as to what made you, Coach Sy, successful at a young age.
As far as basketball was concerned, as a player, I was limited. I wasn't overly athletic, but I could do 2 things. Well, 3 things. When I played hard. I was a warrior, Mm-hmm. 2, I was a great
dog.
A dog. 2, I was a great defensive player. Because,
rarity.
Yeah, I went at it, and I'd stay on the court because I always guarded the Robbie Shaw as the best offensive player. Yeah. And I could shoot, could really, really shoot.
There you go.
And what I learned was I learned the game. I learned the nuances of the game. I looked at the game as a player, as a coach.
Strategy.
Yeah. I learned while I was playing, even in high school. I watched the game. I just, people watch the game for the fanfare and the excitement and this kind of. I watched the game to learn. Not that I even thought about being a coach, but I thought about it, how I could enhance myself as a player. Mm-hmm. If I'm a step slow, then I've got to create a situation that I learned that the game was about angles. Mm-hmm. If I could get here already when this guy's cutting, if he was quicker than me, I'll be there. I'll meet him there. So I watched all the little things that I don't think a lot of, especially in this day and age, mm-hmm. young men now are great athletically, but do they really know how to play? Yeah. And I always appreciated, and I got a chance to get to know him, Larry Brown, because when we first went to the NCAA tournament in 1981, Coach Brown was the head coach at UCLA, and he took AB and I out to dinner, place called Dim Bones, D-M Bones, Dim Bones, it's a big rib joint in L.A., and Coach Brown was like, does this make any sense? You guys flew way out here to California to play a first-round game, and we're going to catch a flight tomorrow to go on the East Coast. How much sense did that make? But I always hearken back to Coach Brown talking about playing the right way. And you being a Carolina guy, I'm sure you've met him and got the chance to have conversations with him. And I watched Dean Smith growing up, mm-hmm. And was honored when I became close to those guys on that Carolina staff. Eddie Fogler is one of my best friends, but I would always watch the Coach Smith show on Sunday mornings, just to kind of learn. I was learning the game as a high school basketball, learning what I could learn to
get an edge.
To get an edge.
Yeah.
And I think then my father sent me to was one of the two blacks that were in the camp, and to Vic Buba's Duke basketball camp. And I've never shared this publicly, but I'll share it now. There was some racist stuff written on the door when I came back one time from, I was in the 7th grade, when I came back one time from lunch, about the N-word, go home, and it was like 2 blacks in the whole, it was about 500 kids at camp. It was 2 blacks. I was one of them, and my friend Paul Cloud was the other. And I never said anything to anybody about it because, and I tell you who was an assistant coach on the Duke staff at the time, Hubie Brown. Hubie was an assistant at Duke at the time, and I got to know Hubie, and our relationship just kind of evolved because when he was at Memphis, I was the head coach at Tennessee State, so I would always go down to his a preseason training camp. But back to your question, I think what I was always learning the game. I mean, I was always absorbing it, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. And I was doing it to try to make me become a better basketball player. Mm-hmm. But in the end, what I was actually doing, not knowing it, was developing who Cy Alexander was as a basketball coach.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that that's what you're doing. Because, again, I had no aspiration of being a coach. I guess because of my mom and the academic deal, I thought, go be a law student, lawyer and try to make some money and all this kind of good stuff. And but I was developing coaching skills as a youngster, as a junior high school guy, as a high school guy, as a college player. And, I was around, my high school coaches. Tom Muse was an excellent coach, played at Appalachia State. My college coach, Sam Moyer, was an excellent coach. His brother, Charlie Moyer, was the coach at Virginia Tech for a lot of years. Yep. I got to be close to coach both of the Moyer coaches. And and again, was around Big House, watching him and listening to him. But again, just watching, getting a chance to go see Vic Bubas and be at his camp, and watching Dean Smith, and just taking everything in as a youngster. I had a montage of different ideas. Yeah. That I was able to pull from. Yeah. And I guess that's. And then the other thing, too, Robbie, I hated to lose.
Well, sure.
I hated to lose it, not just in basketball, just anything. Yeah. I was a intense competitor. I would play my older cousins in something until they beat me. We had to play all night until I finally won the game.
Well, that came from your dad,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had to do well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's father's approval, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, that point, you make such a really a great point, because my personal experience, and this is across many different platforms, not just sports, but if you have a natural ability, it takes away your drive at working at that particular skill set because you already know how to do it. I love that you said that there was maybe some limitations, maybe you couldn't jump or weren't as quick or whatever it was that led to, combined with the desire to win, to learn the game of basketball, to learn the strategy, to learn how to beat people with your brain rather than your feet or your hands. And that led to so many other things in your whole life.
Right. It's been, I tell you, my favorite Michael Jordan story. I got blessed to, as an African-American HBCU coach, I was given, when I got the job at South Carolina State, Howard White, who's the vice president of Brand Jordan, played for Lefty Driesell and at Maryland. Tom, I can't think of his name now, but he played with him. Howard, when I was an assistant at Howard University, Howard White really moved up the food chain with Nike because he signed Moses Malone, the late Moses Malone, and he signed Mike. Did you see the movie Ed? Okay.
Well, of course I
did.
Yeah,
okay. Right. Yeah, am I stupid or what? but Chris Tucker played Howard White in the movie.
Yes.
And so Howard comes to me he had been watching me, and we developed a relationship playing playground ball in the summertime, this, that, and the other. And Howard loved my BMW. You know, we'd go ride, and I'd let him use the car or whatever. So H says to me, he said, Coach, whenever you get a head coaching opportunity, I'm going to bring you into the Nike family. I'm like, you know, people say a lot of things, Robbie.
Sure.
But is it really real? You know, so so I get a job in April at South Carolina State. In July, I'm signing a Nike contract. That was huge, man.
Wow.
Huge.
Yeah.
So now I'm one of 5, maybe not that many, HBCU coaches that have this ain't South Carolina State, this is Cy Alexander, have a Nike shoe contract. I've been all over the world because of Nike. And the people I've had a chance to meet in the athletic world because of Nike has been limitless. So I now give you my Michael Jordan story. Every summer they take us. Every summer we would go somewhere exotic for 5 days or 7 days. All the players that signed with Nike and their significant others, and all the coaches who had Nike shoe contracts. So we're in Hawaii. The Dream Team had just won the United States Olympic gold medal. So they get to Hawaii a couple days. Everybody that's a Nike guy come to Hawaii, right? So, I mean, it's like everybody's just having fun and this, that, and that. So Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, David Robinson, and I forget now who the other person was, but I know those 4 guys we had the beach ball volleyball tournament. And these guys, they bet on everything.
Oh, yeah.
They bet on everything. I have no idea.
A lot of money.
I have no idea how much money was on the line with this stuff. But Michael chooses me to be on his team. Okay. Now, we having fun. We drinking Mai Tais and all kinds of just chilling, just enjoying life, right? But the tournament game is about to start. So I'm on the back line. Now, these guys had just won the gold medal. Right? I'm on the back line. Ain't nobody going to hit the ball to me. I'm just over there in the far right. I'm like a right fielder, you know? So a ball comes to me, right? Michael is on the front. The ball comes, and I hit it, Robbie, and it goes way out of bounds. I mean, it wasn't even close. You remember that look Michael used to give his teammates when they screwed up?
Yeah.
Michael, I'll never forget it. I can see where that door is over there. He turned around, and he stared at me for 10 seconds.
Oh, no.
Telling you, man, he just stared at me.
Stared through your soul.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
I hurried up and got straight focused and everything else and played. Anytime the ball came to me, boom, I was serving it and getting it back up. And we ended up winning the Hawaiian volleyball championship. And if you didn't notice, you would have thought we just won the NBA championship the way Michael was acting. He's jumping up and celebrating, hugging everybody. God. And I'm saying to myself, this dude is different, man. This dude is different, man. You know, his competitive nature was unbelievable.
Unhealthy is what it was.
Unhealthy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I got to become very close to the late Moses Malone. And Mo, for some whatever reason, Mo took a liking to me. And I was always Mo's golfing buddy. And Moses could hit it a mile. Now, where it's going to go, we don't know. But it's going to go a long way. And so one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my coaching career, and this is tell you about the Nike family, his son, Moses Malone Jr., goes to Texas Tech right out of high school. And Clyde the Glide Drexler was the coach. And they're from Texas. They live in Sugarland. Excuse me. And so Moses was almost like me. He reminded me of me. He was a step slow for high major basketball. Step slow. Could shoot the lights out of it. But he wasn't athletic enough to be able to get it done at that level. Well, I get a call from the big fella, from Moses. Now, that's a whole lot of schools between Texas Tech and Orangeburg, South Carolina. There's a lot of colleges in between. Moses calls me out of the blue and says, "Coach, I want you to coach my son." And I was floored, Robbie. I mean, all these other high major guys and this and that. And, you know, he said, "I want you to coach my son."
Wow.
And so I ended up coaching, and we go to the NCAA tournament his last year, in 2003. And in my book, and I was very honored by this, there's a section in my book where Moses Malone Jr. says, "I never trusted but two men in my life, my daddy and Coach Sy."
Wow.
And I was so honored by that. You know, he said, I never trusted but two men in my life. And I, you know, Moses and I have had real, because I've watched him grow up as a kid, you know, and when Moses got to South Carolina State, he was a little arrogant and a little, you know, feeling himself, you know, because he's Moses Malone.
Son of an NBA player.
Right. He's riding around campus, find his car. This car is better than the president's car. you know. But he really grew up as a young man, and I feel like I had a little bit to do with that, because Moses would always call me and say, "Man, take care of him. You know, get him straight. Don't show no preferential treatment." And it was so funny. This is another story for you. We're playing, you know, because Big Mo was from Virginia, you know, the Tidewater area. We're playing at Hampton, and we're having a bad half. And Little Mo, is having a bad game. So Big Mo, is at the game. And so we coming in the locker, you know how your coaching staff meets outside before you go in the locker room to talk about whatever we got to do.
What do y'all want to say to them?
Right, exactly. So, Robbie, Moses walks in to the locker room, and Little Mo is in there going off, cussing, and I ain't getting no GD calls, and the refs are just messing with me and this and that, just going off. So I'm ready to walk in there to address the team or whatever strategy we want to try. And before I start saying anything, Big Mo goes, "You ain't got no game. That's the problem. It ain't the referees." He had a few choice words.
Sure.
He said, "But you ain't got no game." Talking about the refs. You ain't got no game.
The refs aren't missing shots.
Right? Yeah. So that's all that needed to be said. I didn't have to say anything. The players perked up. Little Moses perked up. Everybody. And I said, you guys ready to go play? Man, we went back out there and beat the daylights out of Hampton.
Wow.
But Big Moses, man, he jumped on his son talking about the refs. They ain't the refs. You ain't had no game. And like I said, he had a few choice words in there.
Oh, my God. That's so good.
Yeah,
Golly, that's good. Yeah. All right. So I got just kind of pure personal curiosity. I love the fact that you invest so much in your players personally, not just for the sport, but like you said, you know, you had a high percentage graduation rate. And I love the fact that young Moses looked up to you as that kind of mentor. And you said maybe I had something to do with him maturing. Well, you definitely did. You know you did. And he knows you did, or he wouldn't have said that about right. you. And that is just as honorable as you can, of a characteristic as you can have as a man. And I very much respect that in you. I'd love to know who are your mentors as you're reaching the second half. You know, let's fast forward over into Tennessee State now. So now we're going from South Carolina to Tennessee State. You've got a new head coaching job. Who are you looking up to here? Who are you calling and saying, help me here? You know, what do you think here?
We had two things. One, I was able to develop a personal relationship with Mike Krzyzewski.
Oh, wow. There you go.
My very first NCAA tournament was we played Duke, 1989 in Greensboro Coliseum. They had an 18-point lead on us with about 9 minutes to go in the second half. We cut the lead to 8 points at about 6 minutes to go. Had a wide open layup that would have cut the lead to 6. We missed it. They turned back around with about 7 minutes to go, and it just ballooned. They ended up beating us by maybe 25 or whatever. But Coach K, Tommy Amaker, who's his former assistant, who I got to know through the coaching profession, he said, man, let me tell you something. Coach K has the utmost respect for you. He don't have a lot of respect for a whole lot of people, but and not that he doesn't. But,
no,
but he
has a reputation.
Yeah, but he really respects what you do. True story. We go out and beat Ball State University in their Christmas tournament. Ball State sets it up so that they win the tournament. Well, we go out and we won the tournament. Guy by the name of Bob Taylor's a white guy. He's an architect. He was my host. You know, each coach gets a host, you know. And going to Muncie, Indiana and winning that tournament, I became a personal fan favorite of Mr. Taylor. So he followed my career. Every chance they would fly in, and he and his architect buddies would come in and stay with me, and but they also loved Mike Krzyzewski. So we're playing Duke. We would always play Duke at least one time a year in the non-conference. It was a guarantee game or whatever.
This is Tennessee State, not
no.
This
is at South Carolina.
Oh, that's
State.
Still all right.
And I'm gonna get to
Gotcha.
that. But Mr. Taylor and 3 other guys fly into South Carolina, and they go with us. They travel with the team to Duke, right? So we got two funny stories to tell you with this. First, I'm at shoot around, and I'm standing in the middle of the court, center court, bigs on one end, guards on the other, and this little old white guy, probably in his 70s, about 5 feet tall, he saunters out to the middle of the court, and he grabs an envelope. It's the guaranteed check that you get for playing these kind of guarantee games or whatever. And he goes, "This the nicest thing that's going to happen to you all day." And hands me the check. And I said, yeah, he wasn't kidding, because later on that night, we got rocked in Cameron. But so after practice, after shoot around, Bob Taylor goes, "Coach, is it any kind of way?" Never forget it. I remember it like it happened yesterday. He goes, "Is it any kind of way you think we could meet Coach K?" I said, "I don't know, but we can walk around here and see, you know." Mm-hmm. So we go around to the Duke basketball office, and his secretary, who was his assistant for so many years, I said, I introduced myself. She knew who I was, and I said, "Well, I got some guys here who, if possible, they would just love to shake hands or meet Coach K. And I don't know whether he's busy or coming out." Or she said, "Let me check." He comes out, "Say, how you doing?" Blah, 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 we'll dap it up. And I said, "Well, Coach, these are three of my friends who are big supporters. They're supporters of mine, but they're even bigger supporters of you, and they just wanted to meet you." And I'm telling you, man, they are just up in Coach, man, and da-da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da-da, and the greatest coach this and that. And Coach K looks at him, and he says, "I'll never forget it." He says, "Let me tell y'all something. If Cy was at Duke, he'd be Coach K. Mm. If Cy was at Duke, he'd be Coach K." And what he meant by that was, I'm very good at what I do, but I got every resource. I get the smartest players. We got all the money. I got the biggest support. You got to work to screw this up.
Right.
And it was just, it blew those guys away. Because he was serious. He was just saying that you get those kind of jobs at the Dukes of the world, or Carolinas of the world, or Kentuckys of the world. It's
hard to mess up if you're good.
Yeah, if you're good at what you do.
And he was saying you were good.
Right. And the other thing, when I got to Tennessee State, we developed, and this started when I was at South Carolina State. There was a group of young African-American coaches. We would meet every end of September, before back in those days, practice started October 15th. We would meet down in Augusta, Georgia, on Clint Bryant. I don't know if you're familiar with Clint or not. Clint is he worked for he worked at Clemson for a lot of years.
Okay.
And he got assistant coach, got a head coaching job at Augusta State. He's now the athletic director at Augusta State. But he created a group of young coaches: Frankie Allen, Tubby Smith, Al Skinner, Leonard Hamilton, Oliver Purnell, about 10 of us. And we would meet every September from Thursday to Sunday. And we would talk everything from shoe contracts, clothing apparel, game strategies, how you deal with knuckleheads, the whole, and we were there to help each other, to help us all grow as young black coaches. Mm-hmm. And it was the greatest thing that we could, and we would do it every year. We wouldn't hold anything back, because if I could help Robbie, or I could help Frankie, or I could help Tubby, and so to answer your question, as I moved, that group was, it was immeasurable. That group of young guys who were all at different levels of their I was at a HBCU, and this person was at Kentucky, or this person was at wherever. But we came together for 4, and we'd play golf. We would play golf for a couple hours and come back. We'd work and go out, eat seafood, and we did that every summer, every September for at least 10 years. And we really helped each other. So that was the kind of group I leaned on, because I could pick up the phone and call Tubby Smith on something, give you my Tubby Smith story. We're playing in his first year at Kentucky. I'm at South Carolina State. It's 1996, maybe 1998, one of the two, the year he won the national championship. We're playing at the old Georgia Dome. So we didn't plan this, but I was walking out of the locker room before the start of the game, and he was walking out of the locker room. He said, "Coach, let's walk out together." So we walked out into the Georgia Dome together, and these fans erupt. It's probably 20,000 South Carolina State fans and 60,000 Kentucky fans. But long story short, so we're playing, and I remember it, and Tubby gets on me all the time. We laugh about it, not necessarily gets on me, but we laugh about it. We're playing, and we had cut. You know how coaches kneel down right off the court, when they're coaching and stuff. So we had cut the Kentucky lead to like 6 with about 6 minutes to go. And there was a bang, bang play right in front of where Tubby was kneeling, right in front of where he was kneeling. And because we were playing so well, I'm not sure that it wasn't Kentucky's ball, but the refs gave it to us. Mm-hmm. Gave it to us. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, because it was a bang, and I still don't know to this day who really should have got the ball.
Just trust the refs.
Tubby jumps up, Robbie.
Oh, no.
And goes, "This Kentucky."
Oh, yeah.
Do you know I didn't get a call the rest of the game?
Wow.
I didn't get a call. He jumps up and goes, "This Kentucky." And so,
you better act like it.
yeah, you better know.
Get in line.
So now, Robbie, at the end of the game, you know how the coach, when you walk up and shake hands and dap it up, Tubby is in my ear. He goes, "Yo, man, I ain't mean to one up on you like that, but had I lost to you, I'd have been working for you tomorrow."
Oh, he had to pull the Kentucky card.
He had to pull the Kentucky card.
Wow.
He says, "Yo, man, I didn't mean to one up you, man, but if I would have lost, I'd have been working for you tomorrow."
That is amazing.
But as I got to Tennessee State, and I took the Tennessee State job, it was the worst job in America. But let me tell you about one job that probably hurt me. I didn't get the Ohio State job. There were several others that I didn't get, but Southern Illinois, this was the job that probably floored me as much as anything. This was 2000. You remember Jim Hart, the quarterback from the St. Louis Cardinals? He also was the quarterback for the Washington Redskins.
I think so. I mean, the name.
Jim Hart. You can look him up. Jim Hart was the athletics director at Southern Illinois at the time. Now, we had go back to 1988 in the San Juan shootout. We were seated 8th, and it was 8 teams, and we were seated 8th. Mm-hmm. We win the San Juan shootout.
Wow.
And you look at the record right now, since that time, there's not been a historically black college and university team to have won that tournament other than South Carolina State. Won it in 1988. That was the year, 88, 89. That's the year we went to the tournament and played Duke. Well, we beat...
Your second or third year?
My second year.
Second year.
My second year. We beat Southern Illinois, 90-88. So they remembered that. The administrator, whoever, supporters. So I get I'm now finalist for the job. They bring me in on a Friday. Bruce Weber, who I respect. Bruce was on the Nike trip, good guy. He was an assistant at the time with Gene Cady at Purdue. Mm-hmm. Okay, he had come in the day before. I'm the last guy. They brought in 3 people. I don't know who the first guy was, but Bruce Weber came in on Thursday. Brought me in on Friday. I meet with Jim Hart Friday morning, 7:30 for breakfast. Okay, Mr. Hart, we chit-chatting and letting him know I was a Redskins fan and watching him play as a quarterback. Great conversation. So then he goes, well, Coach, I have not taken anyone yet to visit the president of the university. The person that I take to visit the president has probably a 90 to 95% chance on
getting the job.
Okay, cool. This is at 7:30 in the morning for breakfast. He said, now I'm going to turn over the rest of the day until you get back to my office about 1 or so. You're going to meet with 2 or 3 different groups and so forth and so on. Fine. Robbie, I blow it away. I blow them away. Every group that I met with, this group. So I get back to Mr. Hart's office at probably 12:30, whatever time. And Mr. Hart asked me, he said, what time is your flight? Because Carbondale, you have to take about an hour and a half flight from Carbondale to St. Louis to get a flight. He says, what time is your flight? I said, I think it's at 3. He says, is it possible for us to move your flight to like 7? Because I want to take you to have lunch with the president. So I'm thinking to myself, ding, 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 ding. What he said at breakfast.
95%.
What he said at breakfast in the morning. I said, yeah, sure. We go spend hour and a half, just Jim Hart, president of the university, inside. And we talk from A to Z, like you and I are sitting there talking now. And when I get ready to leave, the president says to me, Coach, I see why so many people have been impressed with you and why they wanted me to meet you. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you again. So I'm driving back to St. Louis from Carbondale. My attorney calls me and my wife calls me, and how'd it go? And I said, well, I told them what. They said, man, we in. We in here, Looking good. This is on a Friday. I get a call, 8 o'clock Monday morning from Jim Hart. And he says, Coach, I had a 1 and I had a 1A. And you happen to be my 1A. And I'm going to go on another route. Robbie, I was crushed. Usually you don't get a job, day or so, you keep on moving because that's the way this profession is. It took me a minute to get over this based on how everything, what I'd heard went down. So one of the guys that I knew at Southern Illinois, he was the sports information director. He was been there a long time, a white gentleman, elderly white gentleman. Name was Jim something. And he was there when we beat them back in the San Juan shootout. So, in fact, he was my host. He picked me up from the airport. Mm-hmm. So about 3 or 4 days after, they named Bruce Weber the coach, I called Jim. I said, man, what the heck happened? He said, Coach, let me tell you this, man. You was Jim Hart's guy. You was his guy. But when he put it in front of the boosters on Sunday afternoon that he wanted to go with a black guy from an HBCU, they wasn't feeling that. They wasn't feeling it. And that's what happened.
God damn.
So, in fact, when I was at Alcorn State a few years ago as an assistant, we played Southern Illinois. And a couple of those same folks said, Coach, we should have hired you. We should have hired you. We followed your career and the things you've done. We made a huge mistake. But fast forward to Tennessee State. Bruce has a chance to gets the Southern Illinois job. 3 years into the Southern Illinois, or 2, I forget now how long he was there, he gets the Illinois job. So he gets probably a $500,000 job to $1 million job, you know. Okay, so now I take the worst job in America in 2003. You can go back and look it up. Tennessee State won 2 games. They went 2-25. They had NCAA scandal. The coach brought a gun on the campus, was going to kill the assistant coach. It was madness, man. And Nolan Richardson, the late Nolan Richardson, his Nolan Jr., who's now deceased, got the job. Got it because of his dad, the big Nolan, who was a great coach at Arkansas,
oh, yeah,
or whatever. So we go, and Coach Thompson again, I reached out to him and he said, well, Si, I say take it. Because if you double the wins, you win 4 games, you double the wins, you know.
Yeah, only go up from here.
Yeah. But long story short, in my second or third year, I think it was my third year, we're playing Illinois. At Illinois. Who's the coach? Bruce Weber.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you don't take things personally in this profession because you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. All you guys, just good Lord let you wake up the next morning. This game I took personally. I did. That I admit it. Nothing against Bruce, but I took it personally.
Yeah.
We go into Illinois and we beat Illinois.
Yeah.
We beat Illinois. And it was one of the most gratifying,
little personal victory,
gratifying feelings that we took the Tennessee State program, which was the worst, and it's still to this day the biggest non-conference win since they've been Division I. You know, back in the day when Coach McClendon and all the things he did, but they were Division II at the time. But since they were Division I, beating Illinois at Illinois was the biggest non-conference win that you know Tennessee State had. So I took some solace in that, but that's how that whole thing went down. And again, it's been a conglomeration of people who've kind of helped Si Alexander become who I have evolved into, and I'm still evolving.
Sure.
You know, as a you know, if I don't know if I'll ever coach again. If somebody, I this past summer I was able to coach the first HBCU All-Star International team.
Saw that.
And that was huge. So I really enjoyed it. It was like we was over there for a week. It was like we was like the JV game before the Olympics or whatever. But it was 20 countries represented. It was a Brand Jordan, the Quad 54 International Tour. 20 countries were represented. It was really nice. I spent a week in Paris. But you know, I love the game. What I love is as much about the game is relationships and helping develop the relationships with young people, and it keeps me young, and being able to still communicate and work in a daily basis, to see people grow, to see and I think that the big thing is being able to communicate and getting people to trust what you do and that you got their best. And I talked to one of my former players yesterday from Tennessee State, a guy by the name of Bruce Price. Bruce was a guard. He had gotten signed with St. John's when Mike Jarvis was the coach there. Well, Mike got fired, and Mike calls me. He says, "So I got a player, and I want to send him to you," or whatever. So Bruce Price ended up coming to me at Tennessee State, tears his ACL twice, but he could go. 2 years in a row, he had just buzzard's luck. Tears his ACL 2 years in a row. But he called me yesterday, and I hadn't talked to Bruce in 10 years, just out of the blue. He reached out to me, and he said, "Coach, I love you, man, everything you," and we laughed about one story that had happened when he was getting ready to go his senior year. After the season was over, he got a chance to get a workout with the Lakers, right? And before he went out to California, I told him, I said, "Look, man, make sure, what time's your workout?" He says, "I think we go at 7:30 in the morning." I said, "Well, make sure you get in at least 500 shots up before your workout. So get in there at 6 o'clock and work." I think I'm telling him the right thing, okay? Mm-hmm. I get a call from Bruce 2 weeks while he was out in California. He don't even say hello. First thing he said, "Coach, you didn't tell me the right thing." And I'm like, "Hey, man, how about good morning? How you doing?"
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. I said, "What's up? What you talking about?" He said, "Man, you told me to make sure I got in at least 500 jump shots up before the regular workout started." I said, "Yeah, and?" He said, "Coach, my personal guy that's training me is Kobe Bryant's trainer." He said, "This dude," I was blown away. Now, he's already a 10-year NBA All-Star or whatever. He gets in there around 4 o'clock, gets up 1,500 shots before the regular workout. That blew me away. Mm-hmm. But you see, and I told Bruce, I said, "Well, man, that's why those guys are who they are."
Yeah. The
hard work that's put in. And I learned a very valuable lesson, because I said 500, and Kobe is an all-pro, all-star, getting up 1,500 shots.
Before practice. Unbelievable. Easton.
Yes, sir.
Can I do another 15 minutes?
We got probably about 5. We just got one right after you.
5.
Okay. Can we get the we talk about the documentary?
Yes, let's do that. So, Coach Sy, I could do this for 3 more hours if they would allow it, but they're not. So we're going to have to wrap it here. I wanted to touch on some other things with you, some of the illnesses that you've dealt with in your life, and unfortunately, I don't know if we have enough time to do this. Maybe we can do a part 2. Yeah. Might have to do it. Maybe if you get to Charlotte, we can do a part 2.
You just tell me when. I'll get there.
Okay, let's do that. That way because man, I've got so much more I wanted to talk about, and we're just gonna have to get going here. But before we wrap this part 1, let's talk about the documentary being made about you. Tell me as much as you can, and tell our listeners as much as you can.
Well, I wrote a book once I got out of coaching. I got out of coaching because my wife and my mother died 3 months apart, and I got prostate cancer. So the therapy to get over all that was I wrote a book called Beyond the Backboard, my unique HBCU experience in the shadows of big-time college basketball. Well, the book was about my life, the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, and it was about triumph over adversity, believing in God and having faith, and those kind of things. My attorney, Felicia Hall Allen, who represents Dawn Staley and a number of female big-time college coaches, she sent the book to 2 producers. One, a young lady who's a rising star in the film industry, a young lady by the name of Ashley Samuels, and also a veteran filmmaker, Mr. Monty Ross. Monty Ross is the co-founder of 40 Acres and a Mule with Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And every movie that Spike has ever done, Monty's been right there. You see the credits. He's the co-producer, whatever. Well, long story short, they love the book. And we are now in the process of producing a what they call a blueprint series on African Americans who have done things in their careers that haven't been told, and that needs to be told. And mine is the first one. They're going to do one on the Reverend Jesse Jackson, on Howard White. I can't think of she was married to the BET owner. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But long story short, we're in production of the Cy Alexander story, and we're trying to help the funding of the process. And it's I think a in-depth look at who Cy Alexander is, the good things that happened in my life, the bad things that have happened in my life, and how I've persevered to be able to be sitting here with Robbie Shaw right now. And I'm honored, man, to have me on your show, and I hope that we can do this again.
Of course.
But we're excited about the potential of the documentary, and it opens up a whole new world to a whole different genre of people to see what the life of a historically black college and university coach is like, and when you don't have all the resources, when you have to have a vision of being able to do things without having the resources, being able to think outside of the box is what I'm trying to say. And that's basically what my career and my life has been, being the underdog. I've been the underdog my entire life. And I think I've worked hard enough with the help of surrounding myself. It's very, very important. I tell people this: surround yourself with good people, people who have a vision, who have a belief, and then you got to have faith and trust in God that you can get where you're trying to go. And it's not going to be easy, but that's what we're doing right now, is trying to get the funding up to complete the documentary. So God willing, hopefully it'll be ready to hit the screens, hopefully from the spring of 2025 or the summer of 2025 is our goal, or what have you.
I love it. Well, the honor and privilege is mine. I've very much enjoyed this, and I'm even more excited that you've agreed to do a part 2, because I think we still have a whole nother half of your life that I would love to hear you discuss, not just the experiences, but what you've learned and how you've grown.
Yes, sir.
In that window of life.
Right.
So, Coach Cy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Robbie.
I'm going to tell the listeners to stay tuned for part 2.
Yes, sir, for sure.
All right, to be continued.